Like ved Kanariøyene på Afrikas fastland lærer Europa sine egne kortsiktige interesser gå foran prinsipper om menneskerettighet og fred. Velkommen til SANDFAST, vår podkast om Vest-Sahara, den siste kolonien på det afrikanske kontinent. Når man flest forbinder nok Kanariøyene med vakre strender, varmegrader og blått vann fra det atlantiske havet. Men visste du at sanden i de vakre strendene ofte er blitt stjålet fra det saharawiske folket, fraktet over i lastebåter fra okkuperte Vest-Sahara? Dagens gjest er Anselmo Fariña, som er selv fra Kanariøyene. I flere år har han dokumentert hvordan Kanariøyene spiller en helt sentral rolle i å støtte opp under marokkansk okkupasjon av territoriet. Hi, Anselmo. Welcome and thank you so much that you have time to join me today. And I always ask my guests this question. And how did you end up working or engage in the question of Western Sahara?
I belong to a generation that in 1975 I was 18, and that time in Spain there was a compulsory military service. And I saw all my friends, 2 years older than me, then had to go to Western Sahara because the drums of war sound. So for our generation here in Canary Islands, the question of Western Sahara is a personal question. In the time I was a student at the university, and there we had some Sahrawi students, not many, but some Sahrawi students. And in that time we had the dream that the end of the fascist dictatorship in Spain will mean the opening of a new world and a social change. And suddenly these Sahrawi friends said to us, well, we must leave, we must go to the war. So it's a shock in our lives. Since then, always we have some relation with the movement of solidarity. The solidarity with Sahrawi people in the end of the 70s was always a part of the popular fights. In demonstrations, people said, el pueblo canario, Canary people, con el frente polisario. Yeah. El pueblo canario supports the frente polisario. That's why.
Yeah. And of course it's geographically very, very, very close between Canary and Western Sahara.
In the island where I live, in Tenerife, it was not so common, but in Gran Canaria, Lanzarote and Fuerteventura, thousands of people went to Western Sahara to work there. And they had friends, Sahrawi friends. And when in 75 Spain sells the Sahrawi people, the people has to come back. The Canary who stay there had to come back to the Canary Islands, and that was also there. No?
Yeah, and you are from the Canary Island, from Tenerife, and how important are the Sahrawi waters for the Canary fishery community? Because we are speaking, this is very close.
When we speak about Canary fisheries, we are speaking of the past. In present times, the fishery activity has almost disappeared. Yeah. But in times of the Spanish colony, the waters of Western Sahara were very important, especially in the Eastern Islands. Thousands of Canary Island fishermen work there. Thousands. Also with small boats. In one day, you can go to the African coast and come back to the island. Yeah. When Spain got the Sahara in 1885 in Berlin Congress, Spain said that Spain had some rights on the Sahara because of the relations of the Canary fishermen and the Sahrawi, the exchange. They said that.
Yeah, they claim that they have some
the links between
fishery rights in Western Sahara because of the historical. Yeah.
Yes.
So Maria and myself, we both live in Norway. I mean, she's Norwegian, and right now it's very cold in Oslo. It's -4.7, a lot of snow. And so it's very common that Norwegians will come to Canary Islands. And the dream is, everyone is saying, we say we're going there, and we're like, wow, speaking about the beaches. So we see often beautiful pictures of beautiful beaches on the Canaries. How many of them are real? And how many of them are transported in ships? And also, we were seeing from the plane, me and Maria, that there were so many infrastructure, like sand or different color of sands in different places. So what other purpose does the sand import to Canary Islands?
The more shocking use of the Sahrawi sand is building artificial beaches. But the most important use is construction. Most of brown beaches are real if you are in Fuerteventura or Gran Canaria or south of Lanzarote. But if you are in Tenerife, probably that blonde beach is done with Sahrawi sand. In Western Islands, the sand is black. It's volcanic sand. In Eastern Islands, the sand is sometimes blonde because it's marine sand. But the dream of the tourist is going to somewhere like Caribbean or the Polynesia, and we have an idea of what is the paradise. So the touristic industry transforms the reality of the islands to sell a product that is not real. And to do that, they use the stolen, bloody sand.
From Western Sahara. And next question is, how does the Canary government cooperate or conflict with the Moroccan government in the relationship to the control of the Sahrawi waters? Immigration,
The relation of the Canary government with the conflict of the Western Sahara and with Morocco, with the Front Polisario, is not so simple. The Moroccan regime has a lot of influence in the Canary Islands politics. There are many corrupt politics of the islands that really are working for the king of Morocco. But we have other problems. Since 1983, the Canary Island government participates in the capital of the main company that imports the sands to the islands. So there is a direct participation of the Canary Island government on plundering the natural resources of Western Sahara. But now, since 1 year ago, more or less, Morocco has moved his lines in the sea, his limits to the west. And moving that to the west, he has invaded Canary Island waters. But there is no answer from the Spanish government.
So Morocco claimed part of the water as its own,
not
while it's
claim
actually
it.
Canary.
Sorry,
No.
not claim
Sorry,
it, occupied.
Occupied, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
occupied directly.
Thank you for correcting me because
as he used. He
yeah.
started with Sahara Occidental,
Exactly.
Western Sahara,
Yeah.
and now it looks that he wants to continue with the waters of Canary Islands.
And there has been no reaction from Spain.
Reaction.
Why? Is it immigration or how is?
I think that the Spanish government thinks that having a silent relation with the king of Morocco, problems will disappear.
Yeah. But does have immigration any card or?
Immigration is unfortunately used by the king of Morocco to pressure Spain. People in Morocco live in very poor conditions, and the dream of most of Moroccans is to leave Morocco, to emigrate to Europe. And the king opens sometimes the northern borderline. Now he has opened the borderline in front of Canary Islands. Yeah. And every day, thousands of people arrive to the islands, and many of them die in the sea. Yeah. Many people is dying because the migration is made under very hard conditions.
Yeah, and it's used as to pressure again Spain. The next one, it's when we come in Las Palmas, and especially in the night, you see these lights of boats, and I was like, it looked like a Disney World. It's not that I have been to Disney World, at least in film, but I want to speak about the port, the role of the port of Las Palmas. You know, as I said, you see, when you look at the port of Las Palmas, there are dozens of ships that are outside of the port. And probably they are loaded with fuel or food supplies, and maybe they are about to head to the occupied territories of Western Sahara.
Yes. The port of Las Palmas is the main port in all this area of Africa and the Atlantic Ocean, the main port, and is fundamental to support the plundering of Sahrawi riches. Bulk carriers that go to Western Sahara to bring phosphates, they stop before here in Port of Las Palmas to get fuel or other supplies. Yeah. The fishery fleets, the Russian fleet, the Japanese fleet, including the Moroccan flagged ships, they use the port of Las Palmas, the shipyards to repair the ships, and many other supplies that they can receive from the port. And also from the port of Las Palmas and from the port of Tenerife, they transport the fuel to make the bunkering of the big fishing vessels, the factory fishing vessels, especially the Russians, and they bring the fuel to the waters of Western Sahara for those foreign ships.
So you talked at the start that, especially for people from Canary Islands, the question of Western Sahara is very clear and known, and all of you are very aware of it. How does the Canary civil society or a public opinion relate to the conflicts of Western Sahara?
Well, when time passed, many people forget. We are not in the 70s, we are not in the 80s, and the new generations, many of the young people, the Sahrawi conflict sounds something from the past. And we try to do constant work in schools, and when you explain in schools what are the roots of the conflict, students understand what happens. But day by day, you can see that when time passes, the enemy becomes stronger.
Yeah, and I'm coming to the last question. So yesterday after the meeting, we were taking taxi, and the taxi driver, when I explained to him that Maria and Tuna, they were Norwegian, he was like, "Oh, Colonia Norwega." that he grew up in, he's from here, born here, and he said that if you come to some place in Canary, he will explain to me, it's just Norwegians. He called it a Norwegian colony, and that he grew up with them. And this podcast is mainly for Norwegian audience. What do you want to tell there's so many Norwegians who come to the Canary Islands in relation to Western Sahara, or either with the sand or with the tourism?
I know that it's difficult when you come to a place looking for sun, that I tell you that look on what sand are you going to take your sand bath. Remember that a part of our beaches are made with bloody sand. When Morocco occupied Western Sahara, thousands of Sahrawi were
executed. No.
Yes, and I don't know the word.
Spanish.
Enterrado, buried.
Yeah.
In sand. In the 80s, one of the ships that came to the island with sand from Western Sahara, they discovered bones, human bones. I think that we must not forget that.
Yeah, and just for people to understand, is 70s and 80s, it was a war in Western Sahara, and there has been genocide.
And now again, there is war in Western Sahara. And the question of natural resources is very important to stop the war. If the country who occupy the Western Sahara do not get benefits from this occupation, probably the peace will be closer.
So, like for Norwegians, knowing where they stand from, just to learn more, as a way to learn more about the conflict, but also it's not far. We are almost next to Western Sahara, so maybe they can travel
100 kilometers. A plane from Gran Canaria to El Ayun takes 30 minutes.
Yeah. Anselmo, this has been very interesting. Thank you so much for your inputs and for the work that you are doing.
Thank you to you for your interest.
Hvis du vil lære mer om konflikten, gå til vest-sahara.no.